All right, so today, guys, we're going to look at alle and also ER verbs and the differences between the two of them. So before we do that, let's go ahead and look at some of the differences between regular and irregular verbs. And what do I mean by that? Because those two words are going to become really important in the near future. So when I say a regular verb, all I mean is that it follows a pattern. So no matter what verb you have, it's always going to follow the same pattern. So for example, parler and jouer, or regarder and écouter, all of those are regular ER verbs. So they're going to follow the regular ER pattern. It doesn't matter what verb we have, as long as it's a regular ER verb, you can use the same pattern. But an irregular verb does not follow any pattern except its own. It doesn't play well with others. You have to memorize it all by itself. So two examples of this that we've already done this year are être and avoir. If you remember, neither of those are similar to each other, and there are no other verbs to act like them. So they have to be memorized completely by themselves. So we've already talked about regular ER verbs for the last few weeks. So let's go ahead and review that real quick. So the pattern for regular ER verbs, the first thing you're going to do is drop the ER. The second thing is then you're going to add the correct ending depending on what your subject and pronoun are. So the pattern for those endings are, for je, you're going to do E. For tu, you'll have ES. Il, E. Nous, you're going to add ONS. Vous, EZ. And il, the ENT. Now, these endings are not actual verbs by themselves. They have to be added to the end of the stem, which you get by dropping the ER. So example down here on the bottom, si je parle, tu regardes, il écoute, nous jouons, vous mangez, and ils aiment. Now I've highlighted the ending just so you can see that we've added the correct ending depending on what that subject pronoun is. So now we're going to look at aller, which is the new verb that we're going to be looking at the next few days. So aller is a verb in French that means to go, and it's really important to note that even though aller ends in er, it is not a regular er verb. It does not use the pattern that we've already learned. It does its own thing. It does not play well on the playground. You cannot do what we've already been doing. So aller, we're going to learn the conjugations of that today. And aller has to be memorized completely by itself. So you can't just use what we've already been doing. I know it looks like a regular ER verb, but it's not one. You're going to see that really quickly in a second. So the conjugations of aller are je vais, tu vas, il va, nous allons, vous allez, and ils vont. So like you can see, this is a very irregular verb. It's called highly irregular because just like être and avoir, which we've already done, this verb does not have any pattern. It does not look like any other verb. It is completely by itself. This verb has to be memorized. I'm going to have you guys write it down on your notes today. This is something that you would really benefit from going ahead and taking some extra time studying this verb, just like you're studying the ER endings. Okay, a couple of hints to help you remember what these conjugations are. So, on the singular side, so remember the singular is je, tu, il, elle, and on. Okay, so on that side where we're only talking about one person, the length of the verb goes from 4 letters to 3 letters to 2 letters. So if you can remember 4, 3, 2, that should get you at least kind of in the right order. Okay, for nous and vous, these should look really familiar because ONS and EZ are very common endings for nous and for vous. And the last one, ils, elles, vont, if you remember, être was ils sont, and avoir was ils ont, just like sont and ont. Both of these verbs end in ONT for the ILS form, the il. Same thing with aller. So, sont, ont, now we have vont. Okay, so those are the conjugations for the verb aller. As you can see, they're highly irregular. It's not impossible. There is a song that we'll be doing together in a little bit, but this is a verb that we'll just be working with it for the rest of the year. So just to compare side by side a regular ER verb and the verb aller. So as you can see over here, we've got our ER verb endings, and I've chosen to do parler, but I can choose any ER verb that is regular. So for example, the verb chanter is to sing. I can go ahead and conjugate chante using these endings because chante is a regular ER verb. Aller, on the other hand, is an irregular verb, so we cannot use those endings. These endings, if you notice, have no place at all in this verb, and that's because they don't go together. They're completely separate, so we've got to keep them separated. Okay, so this is hopefully going to be helpful, seeing it side by side, but the main thing is to remember that when you see aller, think to yourself, this is irregular. I cannot use the regular endings. This is irregular, and then go from there.